Okay, one last connecting the dots. Chuck Wilson, connecting the dots. One last one about Israel for now. We'll come back, believe me, but before we move on to other issues, and that is what is happening to the Jews worldwide. Here's a headline in the Jerusalem Post. It is time for mass aliyah by French Jews. That means going back to Israel, moving from wherever they are, from France back to Israel. The number of anti-Semitic incidents across France has quadrupled, and the situation has been steadily deteriorating for 2 decades. This Jewish leader said the atmosphere toward Jews is sometimes unbearable. This is in France. Having opened their gates to refugees fleeing the violence in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, many European nations are now flooded with unemployed Muslims, threatening the stability of their host countries and carrying out attacks on the Jewish people. Never again. Well, it's happening again. And it's not just there. It's in the United States, too. Crazy stuff. Here's an article, Betsy McCaughey opinion. Brave judge defends the Constitution in ruling on UCLA. This was a New York Post. UCLA. Unimaginable. Abhorrent. Those are the words used by Federal District Court Judge Mark Scarsi Wednesday to denounce the UCLA for permitting a Jewish exclusion zone to operate on the campus this spring. A Jewish exclusion zone at UCLA. This is unbelievable. UCLA let pro-Hamas protesters set up and enforce that zone on its property. And according to Scarsi, the same horrific behavior will happen again unless the court steps in. 3 Jewish UCLA students sued the college, claiming their rights to exercise their religion. Religious freedom guaranteed by the First Amendment was violated in April and May. That's when UCLA allowed pro-Palestinian agitators to take over a portion of the campus, erecting barricades and encampments. These students claimed they couldn't cross major parts of the campus or even enter the library unless they disavowed allegiance to Israel to the agitators at encampment checkpoints, something their faith would not allow them to do. You must say you hate Israel, to keep moving across the campus. These barricades allegedly operated for a week before UCLA officials called their campus police and outside law enforcement to remove them on May 2nd. Later that month, the pro-Palestinian protesters returned with more barricades. Shame on UCLA for tolerating a Jewish exclusion zone for even an hour. UCLA announced it will appeal the judge's decision. God help us. Claiming the judge's orders will hamstring our ability to handle events on the ground. Okay, you should be hamstringing the pro-Palestinian group's ability on the ground. And then here we have another thing. It just happened this last week. Headline in the Jerusalem Post. If you want to know what's really happening, read the Jerusalem Post. Jews have to meet in secret at DNC, says Holocaust survivor, ex-ADL head Foxman. After 50 years fighting anti-Semitism in America, I could not have imagined a time when Jews would have to meet in secret locations in Chicago at the DNC. Woo, Foxman wrote. Holocaust survivor and former National Director Abraham Foxman expressed concern on Wednesday that the situation for Jews in the U.S. had deteriorated. To the point they need to meet in secret events like the Democratic National Convention. Foxman's alarm came after they had a meeting at the DNC event on the rising anti-Semitism. They were meeting about anti-Semitism against Orthodox Jews, but it was disrupted by anti-Israel activists. You can't make this stuff up. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Zionism will fall, the activists chanted. But he says, I fear it will, Foxman says, for Jews in America, I feel it will never be the same again. And he's right. It's time to make Aliyah, to get back to Israel for the Jews. God is going to regather his people. It's prophetic. Regather his people to Israel. That's a prophetic thing. Huge numbers have already gone, and shocking numbers. The majority of Jews, I believe, worldwide, one of the polls I saw, the majority are considering it. It's all preparing the way for the fulfillment of the prophecies leading to the return of the Messiah. Return of the Messiah. Keep your eyes on Israel, God's timepiece. Be watching what he's doing. It's amazing how quickly it is all happening. We will see you next time.